Once upon a time, in a village called Igando, there lived a man named Ade and his wife Sade. They were a happy couple, but they had a big problem. Ade's mother-in-law, Mama Iyanu was a native woman who believed strongly in family traditions. One of such traditions was that she could only eat leftovers. She exclaimed it was a sign of respect for her ancestors. Every day, Sadi would cook a delicious meal for her family, but Mama Iyano would refuse to eat it fresh. She insisted on waiting until the next day to eat the leftovers. This puzzled Adi and Sadi, but they respected Mama Iyano's wishes. One day, Adi's friend Tunde came to visit from a neighboring village. Tunde was curious about Mama Iyano's strange tradition and asked Ade about it. Ade sighed and explained, "It is an old tradition in our family. Mama Iyano believed that eating leftovers is a way to honor our ancestors. She said they always ate leftovers, so we should too." Tunde was surprised but skeptical. "But what if the food spoils overnight?" he asked. Adi shook his head. "That is never happened before. Mama Iyanu says our ancestors protect the food until she's ready to eat it." Tunde nodded, still unsure. That night, as they sat down to dinner, Tunde couldn't help but watch Mama Iyanu closely. He noticed that she waited until everyone had finished eating before she finally began to eat her portion of leftovers. After dinner, Tunde pulled Ade aside. "I have an idea," he whispered. "Let's test Mama Iyano's tradition." Ade hesitated but finally agreed. Together, they devised a plan to trick Mama Iyanu into eating fresh food instead of leftovers. The next day, Sadi cooked a delicious meal as usual, but instead of serving Mama Iyanu leftovers, she gave her a fresh plate of food. Mama Iyanu looked surprised but said nothing. She began to eat, and Tunde watched intently, waiting for her reaction. As Mama Iyanu took the first bite, Ade and Tunde held their breaths, waiting for her to notice something different. But to their surprise, Mama Iyanu smiled and nodded approvingly. "This is delicious, Sade," Mama Iyanu said, taking another bite. "You have outdone yourself today." Ade and Tunde exchanged puzzled glances. Had Mama Iyanu forgotten about her tradition? After dinner, Ade couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. "Mama Iyanu," he began attentively, "I noticed you didn't wait for leftovers today. Is everything okay?" Mama Iyanu chuckled softly. "My dear son, traditions are important, but they are not set in stone. Sometimes we must be willing to adapt and change." Ade and Tunde were amazed by Mama Iyanu's wisdom. Perhaps there was more to her than they had realized. From that day on, Mama Iyanu still honored her family's tradition, but she also learned to embrace new ideas and experience. And as for Ade, Sade, and Tunde, they discovered that sometimes breaking out from a certain tradition can lead to unexpected joy and discoveries. And so, in the village of Igando, the story of Mama Iyanu and her tradition of eating leftovers become a tale of wisdom, flexibility, and the importance of family bonds. But there was more to come, as the village of Igando was full of surprises and stories waiting to unfold. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the people of Igando continued to marvel at Mama Iyano's newfound openness to change. Her story spread throughout the village, inspiring others to question their own tradition and embrace new ways of thinking. In the end, The greatest lesson learned was that tradition should never be blindly followed without thought or consideration. While they can provide a sense of belonging and continuity, they should also be flexible enough to adapt to the changing times and circumstances. And so, the village of Igandu prospered, not just because of its rich traditions, but because of the willingness of its people to evolve and grow. And as the sun set over the horizon, casting its golden glow upon the village, the lesson of Mame Yanu's tradition echoed through the generations, reminding all who heard it that sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in the courage to embrace change. The end.